All right, brothers and sisters, we're going to move on with this program. So we got a packed program tonight. Yeah, and brothers and sisters, boy, I'm waiting for this physiotherapist to come in now, man. We got a tag team coming in, brothers and sisters. This is going to be so awesome. And we got brother Sahu and Kristos. They're physiotherapists. They do not play. This brother Kristos just came in a bit earlier, and I just said, wow, just a little that he dropped. I know this brother knows his business, brothers and sisters. So please, with over 600 of you on the platform, show some black love to our two physiotherapists, man. Brothers, it's all yours. Take your time. Go.
Thank you. Amazing presentation, Samantha. Thank you, Leon, the whole team, for even providing this platform to educate the people. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to share my screen and then get up the presentation. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to touch on a bit of the science, so kind of build up on what Samantha was explaining from a scientific point of view. Myself, most of my education on sickle cell sadly has not been from the NHS, has not been through studying. Most of my knowledge has come from working with people in the community and people such as Samantha sharing with me their symptoms and building up plans to help them. So I'm gonna talk about sickle cell and go through a bit of the science so you can see how it relates to the treatments that we do in preventing any crisis and also how to manage the crisis, sickle cell crisis. So let me start that now. Right, so it's a little while since I've done presentations. Oh, here it is. Okay, so sickle cell. So I'm just going to minimize that one. So as you might be aware of already, so sickle cells are basically red blood cells. So this is a normal red blood cell, and this is a sickled red blood cell. So that causes problems in terms of crisis, which I'm going to explain. So why does sickle cell occur? So if you can see on this map here, so in the green, so this is areas of high prevalence of malaria. And this is also here in these maps is high prevalence of people with sickle cell. So the basic theory going around is the genes mutated over time to basically provide some defense against malaria. And this is very important, not so much in adults, because when adults get in contact with malaria, me myself having malaria, you build up certain antibodies against it. However, this is very, very important in terms of when we're looking at children under the age of 1. And the reason why is children under the age of 1 do not develop certain antibodies to fight against the disease because they haven't had that experience. However, they're more than likely to survive their first year because they've got the sickle cell, which doesn't carry the malaria and cause so much of a hazardous effect as people that do not have malaria, so who do not have sickle cell. So that's basically the current theme going on there. When we look at red blood cells and sickle cells, we need to kind of understand basically what hemoglobin is. So hemoglobin actually makes up 90% of the weight of red blood cells. And the purpose of hemoglobin is to carry oxygen as it binds onto the heme. So a chemical reaction with the iron and oxygen combining, and the hemoglobin molecule actually carries the oxygen around the body to be delivered in areas where it needs to be delivered. So when we look at the science as to the normal hemoglobin, which I will refer to as HbA, and the sickle cell hemoglobin, which I refer to as HbS, when it comes to taking up oxygen, it does its job well. And the sickle cell does it just as well as a normal red blood cell or hemoglobin cell. And so the problem doesn't lie in taking up the oxygen. The problem lies in the transporting of the oxygen. So here you can see a normal hemoglobin cell molecule, and here what you can see a slight change in two of the structures of hemoglobin and a slight mutation which is in the sequence of the amino acid. So when we look at the normal hemoglobin, we can see that this molecule here is replaced, and that actually changes the parts of the hemoglobin molecule which actually causes the sickling. So when we look at a normal hemoglobin molecule, we can see that they're nice, round, they're buoyant, they flow nicely through our blood vessels. However, when you look at a sickle cell and the hemoglobin molecule in that, what happens is part of those chains basically they attract each other. So when we've got position where there's a lack of oxygen in our body, they actually form chains, and they form polymer chains through a process called polymerization. I can never say that word properly. And what happens as the polymers connect to each other, they actually connect in chains and start to deform the cell. Whereas, as you can see, the hemoglobin molecules here, the beta molecules there, they do not actually form polymers. So they stay nice, round and smooth, whereas in the sickle cell, they form polymer chains, which actually changes the structure of the sickle cell. So the problem with this is when the structure of the red blood cells has changed because of the alignment of the polymers, what actually happens is they create sickles, and these sickles cells find it much harder to pass through the smaller vessels. And that's what we call vascular occlusion, because they basically sickle together, stick together, and make blockages anywhere within our small blood cells, within our small blood vessels, which can cause problems. So they done an experiment many years ago, and they extracted some of the hemoglobin molecules. And when they done this, and the molecules were in areas of low oxygen states or oxygen deprived environments, that's when the cells started to sickle a little bit more. And it just makes me question, when we're looking at science from multiple perspectives, is it only low oxygen that is causing the problem? Or is it other factors such as diet and other factors such as stress, which is also having this effect on the cells? So when we're looking at the aim of physiotherapy, we're looking at two things: helping to manage crises when they happen, and also helping to prevent crises from happening in the first place. And the reason why this is so important is because of the life expectancy. So some research suggested that in 1973, the average person with sickle cell was 14 years. I find that quite low, and that was just from a particular source. Again, in 1995, it was 42 years old for men and 48 years old for women. A renowned, quite a well-known person who works in hematology, I will get the name at the end, I haven't put it here actually, but she basically quoted that today that over about 99% of people who survive into adulthood are expected to live about sometime in their 60s. So whether that be 60 to 69. And some of this has been because of the breakthroughs in the technology, in awareness. And I believe in one case, it was actually able to change this, modify the stem cells or the genes in a particular individual, a 13-year-old. And apparently, they was able to cure this 13-year-old from sickle cell. However, I believe the problem with that was it did pose quite a high risk, because when you're dealing with gene manipulation and altering genes, that's always going to be a very, tentative area. So just looking at some of the problems with the vaso-occlusion, so the sickling and it blocking the vessels, is what we know as a stroke. And strokes, there's two types of strokes. There's ischemic strokes, where you get a blockage. So this will be where the sickle cells are blocking the area, and you get a hemorrhagic stroke. Now, with older people with sickle cell, they're more than likely to get a hemorrhagic stroke. And the reason for that is because over time, the vessels of the brain will weaken. So it doesn't have its strength as the individual's blood vessels are not as strong as it would have been if they were younger. So again, you can get a history and a period of sickle cells occluding areas, slowly weakening the cell walls. And as it weakens the vessel walls, what will happen is eventually it will rupture, burst, and a person will go into shock, etc., because of the loss of blood in the area, or even the lack of oxygen in that area will cause problems. Ischemic stroke, which is more than likely to happen in younger individuals, where their vessel walls is a little bit stronger, more robust. However, with the sickle cell, the sickling of the cells can actually block the vessels rather than burst it. You get other conditions. So the problem we're looking at with sickle cell is anywhere the sickle cells occlude and block of a vessel, you're always going to get tissue damage in that area. If it's in your brain, it's going to be a stroke. If it's in the heart area, it's going to be a heart attack, etc. If it's depending on what area it is, if it's in your leg, it's going to damage the tissues around the leg and cause other problems such as the tissues being damaged, developing ulcers, etc. So this specifically is when it happens in the hand or the foot, and it's called hand-foot syndrome, as you can see here. And you can see here, these are not old people's hands, or these are not adult hands, these are children. And this is very popular in children between the ages of 6 months to 3 years. And they found that it rarely occurs after 5 years old. It usually disappears within 1 to 2 weeks, and treatment includes things like intravenous hydration, which I'll talk about a little bit later, antibiotics, and folic acid. So as you can see here, it looks like they're getting some liquid put in the area just to dilute the sickling. Okay. Another problem is femoral infarcts. And again, where you're getting any occlusion and lack of blood flow to an area, you're going to get cell death or cell damage. And in this particular area, this is the head of the femur, which is basically the thigh bone. And what happens, it's a common area because there's generally a poorer blood supply in that area. So what will happen as bones become necrose, which is the cells dying, what will happen is the joint will wear out and people will need hip replacements at a relatively young age. Another problem is acute chest syndrome. So this can cause, this is part of a sickle cell crisis. And this is basically when the small vessels in the lungs become blocked off. And also as a result of the reduced oxygen in that environment, or the reduced oxygen being provided to the tissues, you can get also the bacterial pneumonia. And for some people, this can be a one-off event, and other people, it can be an event that keeps on happening from time to time. And symptoms will include things like chest pain, rapid breathing, things like fever, being unwell, and struggling to breathe. Because of the nature of sickle cell and the different parts of the body that it can affect, sometimes it can be mistaken for other things going on. So sometimes it can be lack of blood supply around the rib area, and it could be a bit of necrosis around the ribs, or stomach ulcers, which can also refer pain. One of the things to help with that, especially with children, is something known as incentive spirometry, and is something very popularly used amongst the wards, especially when you delve into pediatric care, where children with sickle cell will be admitted to the hospital and on a ward. And basically what this device does, it looks like a toy, and it was designed to look like a toy to get the children to engage in it. And all it is blowing out, breathing out, and breathing in, sucking it in. And basically these balls will go up, and that will be a measurement. Ooh, what happened there? Oh, I think it just logged off. Let me try that one again. Recent. Okay, don't know what happened there, but I'll continue anyway. 2, 3. Slideshow. Okay, play from current. Okay, if you can't see anything, or if it's not working, please do let me know. But I assume everything is well. So the idea is to breathe in, the balls going up, and trying to hold the breath in.
So is your presentation still there, brother? Because we can't see anything. I think you may have stopped share.
Okay. Let me see. Share. Okay. All right. So I assume we're good now.
Yeah, we can. Yeah, man, we can see you.
Okay. So idea of breathing in, and the ball's going up, and the idea of that is to oxygenate the lungs, because remember the problem with the cell sickling is because of the lack of oxygen, and it's just a fun way to get the children engaged. If, for example, the children's got a lot of phlegm, or if they've got an infection or a chest infection, other games that you can play with the children is getting them to blow bubbles in a solution of fairy liquid and making the bubbles go everywhere. Again, a fun way to help them clear their chest. Other things which we'll go into, and Sahu is going to put his input in this, doing the Tai Chi, etc., and being an instructor. We go through that. So basically, massage, adequate fluids, keep them warm, gentle exercises, heat pads, adequate rest, reducing one's stress levels, avoiding cold environments. All these little things are what people can do to prevent a sickle cell crisis. One thing that I have found very helpful, or I would say my clients have found very helpful with sickle cell, is massages. They feel it just helps to loosen up areas. It prevents stagnation. Again, massage is very good for releasing endorphins, the happy hormones that the body produces, aiding in circulation, preventing tightness of muscles and stiffness, and preventing the opportunity for blood to occlude. However, with massage, you've got to do it case by case. it's not doing something like a sports massage and bruising people. It's more of a very therapeutic, relaxational massage. Adequate fluids is very important because with the polymerization and all the polymers in the sickle cell, hemoglobin molecules sticking together, by keeping them apart, by keeping the blood diluted, well hydrated, it prevents the sickling from occurring. And also, when you're adding more hydration, again, you're making the blood become less viscous, which is the blood becoming sticky. Depending on what you've eaten, the blood can become a little bit more sticky as well. So by hydrating yourself, it's preventing those opportunities for that to happen. Keeping the body warm is also very key. It's going to help improve the circulation. Again, massage helps with that, but just making sure you're wrapping up in the cold weather, avoiding extreme colds in the workplace, etc. All of these things are also going to help. And when the body's cold, you're putting the body through a level of stress. So keeping the body warm helps the body to relax and helps reduce your stress. Exercise is very important, especially in this day and age. What's very interesting with what Samantha was talking about with the increased cases during lockdown, just generally as a physiotherapist working privately and NHS, what I've definitely seen is a lot of particular groups being hit hardest. These are people like the elderly, people who are being treated for cancer, definitely, as we know, that people with sickle cell. And the reason for that is the body needs to move. If the body is not moving, you're getting stagnation going on. You're getting reduced blood flow. You're getting tightness of the muscles. And it's very, very unnatural for the body to be locked and confined in spaces. So it's no surprise that such a large amount of our population is suffering from problems, and even the general public. So if the general public is suffering from, oh, I'm getting more back pain and my blood's not circulating, I'm putting on weight, it's going to have more of an effect on people with sickle cell. And that's why movement is key. One of the things that my clients say helps a lot, one of the things which has been taken away from them is hydrotherapy. Getting into the water, warm water, doing exercise which is not going to push them to exertion. And again, it's important because once someone's pushed to exertion, again, you create that presence of low oxygen levels, the body struggling a little bit more, again, the blood sickling. In the case of necrosis of joints, such as the hips, you want to keep the joint strong. By keeping the joint strong, you prevent the bones rubbing over each other more because of the weakness. So the muscles are meant to support the joints. So the more you keep the joint strong, the more you prevent the wear and tear associated with sickle cell. So, so Tai Chi and meditation. So I'm going to let Sahu talk about that more, and also talk about the classes that he holds on Zoom, which are very beneficial for stress management, etc.
Brother, just let you know, there's approximately about 3 minutes left.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
All right. Okay. Well, I'll be brief with my talk then. Thank you, Kristos. I was in-depth explanation there. Well, since I got a few moments, I'm just gonna go through breathing techniques and what you can do to massage the body. Because as Kristos was talking about this vasal occlusion and the blood cells building up along the vessels, the way in which we can affect that in a positive manner is through massaging or mobilization or through moving the joint either in a low to medium impact. So you don't really want to be working on a medium to high impact, which would be doing like heavy weights or that type of training there. We really want to be doing a low impact activity, and the low impact stimulates blood circulation and also vasodilation, the opening up of the vessels. So Tai Chi is brilliant for that. I mean, for somebody who's supposedly normal, with a normal, healthy body, the art of longevity, the art of immortality, the way in which one lives the longest life possible with a healthy mind and body, spirit, and everything combined together. So Tai Chi, doing slow movements improves oxygen circulation throughout the whole body, as well as stretching and an opening connective tissue. The connective tissue being opened because the vessels are moving within the fascia. And when the fascia itself is restricted, then there's not this open and closing, this compression and relaxation. So the Tai Chi is really beneficial for that. And in Tai Chi, you're breathing deeply. So just like the yoga, the stretching is beneficial, but if the yoga is also done with correct breathing techniques, then that improves it tremendously. So as my time is short, there are ways to, when one is in a crisis, entering into a crisis, emotional stress is imminent. So a situation is taking place and you feel emotionally stressed and you know it's coming. Well, there are things you can do to deactivate amygdala by deactivating the amygdala, which is your emotional center with your limbic system. By doing certain breathing techniques, you can calm this down and therefore halt or reduce the length of a crisis which is stimulated from an emotional event, because these emotional events lodge in physical form in the body, and as a result of it affecting a part of your body. So let's say that you have stresses with supporting yourself, or let's say that you feel you're supporting people, but you don't want to. That tension go around the shoulders. The shoulders are all up in your ears, and then you're working on a computer using a mobile phone. So the restriction again is even increased. Then you go through certain breathing patterns, certain self-hypnosis, which puts your brain into an alpha state, which helps you to reorganize again your thought. So a really simple breathing practice is what we all do when we're upset. And we do this physiologically without even thinking about it, which is like a double sigh, a double breath in and then out. That kind of breath there. You know when you're upset? Now, a breath like that actually stimulates the deactivation of certain neurochemicals in the brain. And when that takes place, it calms the body. It's like a mental reset. It's like the amygdala is reduced and is reset from that double inhale. It's like there is in your alveoli, in the lungs, like that sudden expansion of the belly, because the belly is expanding and full. And then you're doing that sudden breath with because when you see a child do that, you see the ribs, the chest, everything that's rippling. Like you see the whole body just lifting up. But that sudden lift, it's like, because they are so focused on the problem at hand, which they've forgotten about, that there's no longer even a realization why they're even upset. So the body physiologically has a way of resetting the whole process, bringing a brain back to baseline. And we do it naturally. We just do that double breath in and out through the mouth. Okay, so now, if you do that, let's say 9 times, and that can be done at any time, which is different from doing a 15-minute breath meditation, breathing in and out evenly through the nose. It's a bit different because of this now, because that is activating through the phrenic nerve, the diaphragm, which is stimulating the vagus nerve, which is causing a calmness of the whole parasympathetic system, the autonomic system. But that's a bit different. But with this little gem here, it's like a hack, let's say, it's like a sidestep. If you can do that technique there, double breath in through the nose, out through the mouth, again, it helps to alleviate, or should I say reset, the limbic system, especially the amygdala. I mean, I think
you said something very interesting, Sahu, which I think has to be said here before we got on this.
Sorry, my brothers, sorry about this. We're literally falling in time. So, but what I'm going to do, Kristos, to allow you to make this very last point, because we've got literally you two have set the chat room on fire. I don't know if you're looking at the points.
Make me laugh.
We've got a lot of people that want to, brothers and sisters, remember, if you want to ask a question, please raise your hand. We've got two top-class physiotherapists with us who are conscious, who know their stuff. So please use this opportunity to ask your questions. But Kristos, if you wanted to make that last point, please, brother, so we can start asking questions.
So who brought to my attention earlier about the normal cell and the sickle cell? And this is heading into a bit of metaphysics here. The solar-lunar duality of the cell. The red blood cell being the solar, the normal one. The sickle cell being that lunar duality. And I think there's something in that.
I know what you mean.
Interesting.
Same thing. I'm like, there's like lunar blood is what we're looking at.
Beautiful. Brothers, well, I didn't know how you was going to follow Sister Warrior Queen, but you done it. You done it. Brothers, already people are saying we need a part 2 with you two. We need a part 2. I've just seen someone just put this down. Who's that Dorothy or Divinity? Yeah, we'd love to have them. Okay, Joanna, you said that you'd love to ask a question, but you can't. We're going to make you a host. Not host, we're going to make you a panelist. Try to ask Joanna, and we try to put you in, because we've got 2 fantastic kings with us, man. This has just been absolutely fantastic. So the first person I'm going to bring in, Andrea, could you ask your question? And brothers, can you answer the questions as quick as possible so we can get through as many brothers and sisters as possible, because you've raised the bar again, brothers. You've raised the bar. Sister Andrea Melbourne, can you unmute yourself, sister? I've made you a panelist. Could you unmute yourself and ask your question, please, my queen?
Hi.
Hi, sister.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask Sahu Tao Shen whether he has any books that he could recommend.
On what specifically?
In terms of, like, you were talking about the breathing and...
Okay, there are a few good books.
Or
We have a lot of techniques. Okay, let me just show you something quickly then.
I would say try and get to one of his classes. We will definitely put that information there.
Oh, it's true, because I'm there, we're talking shortcuts, isn't it? But I suppose a book like this is pretty good.
Science of Breath. Okay.
We've got, yeah, and it's a different author. This is a different author to that other person there. But the same as Kristos is saying, I'm constantly, as we're teaching it on Zoom, I do go through meditation classes, meditation aspect, and discussing different breathing patterns and the effect of the brain and how it affects the physiology of the body as well.
Okay, do you have a website, or how can I contact you?
Future. I think Kristos will probably put that down in the chat.
Kristos has been putting this down very quickly. Fantastic, Kristos. Brilliant. Is that Sitsi Maskumi? Can you unmute yourself?
Hello, hi.
Hi, my queen. Could you ask your question, please?
I just wanted to know whether there is work being done in schools, because I worked in schools and I wish I could turn the clock back, because what I'm hearing today and what I'm learning today is completely new. There are some things that we did use, because I was a school nurse for years, but I think empowerment of children wherever they are, because we had a fight on our hands to actually educate the teachers as to how they can work with sickle cell children. So I'm just wondering how much work has been put, because I've been retired almost 10 years now, how much work is going on in schools at the moment? I mean, regardless of the fact that we are out of schools, due to the pandemic.
Well, I mean, generally for children in schools in England, there was a time when they would do these mind balancing stuff. Some there have been periods where they do running around the block or something, but it's not in England.
Not the same.
It's not a constant practice where they have like assembly time and they're doing health activities.
Yes.
Breathing and some relaxation, a group activity. But that's something that needs to be implemented. And that's not just that's sickle cell, but that's everybody that will benefit from that process then. England's a bit slow.
Beautiful. Thank you very much, my kings. There's so much comments coming in, brothers. You've actually blown the place up. I'm sure we will be having a part 2. Judith Perry.
No.
Judith Perry. 10 more seconds, sister. Judith Perry, would you like to ask your question, please?
Oh, that was a mistake.
Maybe it's a mistake, Shannon. Okay. All right, brothers. Thank you so much, my brothers. I mean, please take, if you get a time, please look for the chat, the chat room and the Q&A, because even if you was not able to ask your question, brothers and sisters, the brothers are here live with us right now. They'll go through the Q&A. Brothers, if you can go through the Q&A and the chat room, there's so many questions that people may not want to ask physically towards you, but they've asked it in the chat room. Okay. Okay. One last person, because we're just running 10 minutes behind time, but we're doing good. We're doing good. Jacqueline Willis. You've just raised your hand, Sister Jacqueline Willis. Could you unmute yourself, my queen, and ask your question?
Hello, blessings all. I just wanted to ask, because I work in the community and I've got opportunities to get funding in, and especially like for Black communities. So do you know of any funders out there where I could apply, or, you know, what way I can get something going on in my area once the lockdown's lifted, or actually while the lockdown's actually happening?
Is that kind of funding for like a project, etc.?
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, because I've done other funding before for other projects, so I'd like to be able to do something for this community.
Right. I'm not.
That might be a Samantha. If Samantha's there, for her to answer that question then.
Too big on that world.
Yes, I'm here. With regards to funding, on a personal level, I mean, I've been on the committee of many support groups where we used to go for funding from the councils and so forth, but Sickle Cell Cause does not receive funding from any source. We are community-based and we receive funding from our community and we work for our community. So with regards to going for funding, I would say the big lottery fund and places like, like that, or go to your local council and they will tell you, where you can go for funding. But Sickle Cell Cause is not funded by any government body because we're an advocacy group and we cannot be gagged with money.
Wow. Okay. Thank you so much.
Total disgrace, but a brilliant question, my sister. Thank you so much, my queen, for asking and raising up the financial aspects of it. Thank you, sister.
Thank you.
Thank you, dear. Okay, brothers, we bow to you. We are so proud of you two, man. And when we hear two professionals like yourself speaking divine wisdom, you just empower us more than you can expect. Brothers and sisters, if you're loving these two physiotherapists, wow, Brother Sahu and Brother Kristos, put some ones in the chat room, brothers and sisters. Put some ones. We've got nearly 600. Put some ones in the chat room if you feel us, because you know what? They're doing this for us in our community, man. It's absolutely powerful. And brothers, it's the first time I've met the two of you, man. And I salute the two of you, kings. You walk proud today, brothers. You made us proud tonight. Oh, all right. Thank you so much.